Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So if you saw this week's feature match, you know what's coming next. We are rocking into Hybrid Green, finally back in Tier 1 status. This green hybrid deck is phenomenal. The fact that you can, when you digivolve, instead of losing memory, you can gain memory is just absurd. Green has always been incredibly efficient when it comes to digivolving, but never have you just plussed on memory when you digivolve. Now we can do that, and it is absolutely absurd. This deck is a ton of fun, and what's really nice about it is it's really just all encompassing. You don't need to grab things from other strategies and pull them in. Literally, Green Hybrid is self-contained, and that is exactly how you want to play this. Don't forget, our memory marker for the month of February is going to be the Armor Egg of Friendship. Got the symbol on top and everything there. This is for our Raidramon Vmon evolution. Really, really awesome. If you're excited for some Armor Evolution deck or the Pyildramon deck, this will be a great memory marker for that for sure to get your hands on. Now, if you want any of our previous memory markers we've had on the channel, check the coffee link in the description below. There you can get access to all the previous memory markers we've had on the channel. The benefit, though, if you go through Patreon, you get the featured memory marker of the month for usually a little bit better of a deal. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. First up, we actually are running some green rookies in a lot of the hybrid decks so far. Rookies have been kind of this, awkward spot in a hybrid deck where all your level 4s are hybrid. You digivolve on top of your Tamers typically. So when looking at what kind of rookies you want to put into your hybrid builds, you can sometimes branch out to other colors like we've done with the yellow one where we take on all the purple stuff. But this one really, actually, a lot of the green stuff that you can take is really, really good for the deck. So first up is our eggs, and for the most part, your eggs aren't really going to matter. Mainly what we're looking at is the Argomon for potential value, possibly, and it's just when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your unsuspend phase, gain 1 memory. So could be useful, but not always. It's just most of the stuff, it's either do you want a little bit of DP, possibly, but for the targets only being rookies, I don't think a DP buff is really going to matter, especially because our only 2 Evo targets are right here. So 1k DP and 2k DP, I really don't think 1 extra 1000 DP is going to matter that much over the potential of if these guys swing into like security and they hit an option card or another tamer, because it is very tamer heavy format, they could just survive the security check, and then if they don't get deleted by your opponent on your opponent's turn, it comes back to you, you just get incredible amounts of pluses off these guys. So yeah, just the 4 Argomons, I think that's fine. No 5th egg, because I don't think Mimi's exactly worth it, and I'll discuss why later on. But we're not going to do a whole lot of hatching and promoting out of raising area as fast as other green decks have in the past. So first up, we've got Terriermon Assistant. So this is Digiburst 1, reveal the top card of your deck, add it to your hand if it's a green Digimon card, otherwise place it to the bottom of your deck. So similar to the Tentomon, that's an on-play effect. What we kind of encountered here was the fact that we didn't have a whole lot of digivolve targets. Yeah, you can play that Tentomon, who's really pretty solid, but when you do that, you miss out on the digivolving and raising. If you just digivolve the Tentomon and raising, you just add that card to hand off of the Evo draw, right? If you play the Tentomon, you have the chance of it not getting to your hand, and then you paid 3 memory and you didn't even plus off of it. Whereas the Terriermon Assistant, I think, is the better way to go. So you're going to Evo in raising area, get the guaranteed draw, then you're going to promote on the following turn, and then use the Digiburst to potentially plus a second time. So that's way better than Tentomon, I think. So guaranteed Evo draw, as well as a chance at basically the Tentomon effect on the following turn, seems pretty solid to me. I really like it. Next up, we have our memory blocker Terriermon. And this is another one that you can digivolve in your raising area and then promote it up on like a following turn. If you know that you don't need that memory blocker immediately, if you know that the memory blocker on field now is going to be the way to go, you can go ahead and hard play it, not a big deal. But if you know you've got time before your opponent can plus off of any sort of memory gaining, go ahead and evo it into raising area. So nice, it's kind of our flex spot, because you notice the next card is an on play. So this is like on play it if you need it, or evo it if you need it, so whichever it kind of fits into. And then being a memory blocker in this format is so good. So we saw why last format memory blockers were so good with the hammer sparks, the memory gaining, or the memory boost cards, right? In tons of decks, those are always good to be able to stop those. Hitting into like an ice wall in security for that security effect of gaining memory. Ice wall now limited once this format comes out. It's still at 1, so it's kind of like having a 5th potential hammer spark in security. So just something to keep in mind. So just that's really good still. However, but more than that, we're gonna get into him in a second. But Bokomon's ability reads: when a Tamer digivolves into a hybrid, gain 2 memory. So it essentially makes all Tamer evos free in a hybrid deck, unless your opponent has a memory blocker. So I think memory blocker is going to be incredibly important for stopping hybrid decks. Okay, it's very, very crucial. So we went ahead and just put Terriermon straight to 4, okay? Not playing around in green. Green had the flexible spot in the deck to run 4, so we went ahead and just threw it in here at a 4 of. Next up, we got Betamon, and this is on play. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 green level 4 Digimon card or 1 Tamer card among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is really awesome. So just a nice on-play searcher, just in a super generic. That's what's so great about this. Now it's not, you don't add 2 off of it. It is a reveal 3, add 1, which is still okay, because you just get whatever you need in that moment. If you need a hybrid, grab the hybrid. If you need a certain Tamer that gets revealed, grab that certain Tamer. It's just nice because it's either or, so you still get the choice in what you're adding, unlike other things where you play it and it's like Gabumons, for example. You play the Tamer Searcher, Gabumon, and say you reveal a Bonds. You can't add that Bonds. It feels so bad. And then you don't hit any Tamers. That's such a crucial thing that really brings that deck down a little bit. But then Betamon here is just like, hey, you need that hybrid level 4 or that Tamer, I got you. Grab which one ever you need. So this is going to be our on-play rookie for green. Now, we have another on-play rookie here in the form of Bokomon. So another 3 play cost rookie. On-play, reveal 5 cards from the top of your deck. Add 1 hybrid in its form. No level restriction on that, so 4 or 5. Or a 10 warriors in its type, which is relevant in this deck. I think this is the only hybrid deck that's actually going to play its 10 warriors. All the other 10 warriors are kind of terrible. I think the red one, Ancient Greymon, I think he's pretty solid. But that's, the only other one. So being able to also grab 10 warriors is actually relevant in this deck. And 1 Tamer. So reveal 5, add 2 cards, 2 different types of cards. That's really good. So anytime you can +2 or I guess it's technically a +1, but anytime you can plus and get multiple checks off of a search card, that's really good. And it's a top 5, so you have a good chance of actually revealing both types of cards to add to hand. A reveal 3, add 2, you often miss one or the other, okay? In a reveal 3, add 2, you're pretty much almost always only going to get 1, but sometimes you do get both. But with a reveal 5, you really exponentially increase your chances. Now, your turn, once per turn, when your Tamer digivolves, gain 2 memory. We already kind of talked about that, how that's great. Both your level 4s here are these 2 evo cost, essentially become free. As long as Bokomon's on field, your opponent doesn't have a memory blocker, your hybrids evos are free, okay? And that's really good. So we'll go ahead and jump into these guys. First up, we got Beetlemon. So 2 evo hybrid. Since green has already had a generic 2 evo cost hybrid in the past, now we get both of our hybrids that are level 4 in this set have effects, and that's great. Unlike Yellow, who got their very first generic hybrid, and so that took one of their 2 slots as a generic. Same with Black, is Black lost one of its like potential secondary evos with an effect. But this effect is when digivolving, reveal 5 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 Digimon card with hybrid in its form. Again, no level restriction, and 1 JP among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. So very similar to Bokomons here. So reveal 5, add any level hybrid, awesome, and then 1 JP. So it's not a generic any tamer, it has to be specifically a JP, but that's okay because JP is the one tamer that we're running the most copies of in the deck, and he's also like the best one. He's got he just works with the hybrid engine so good, so he's definitely the one we wanted to add anyways, so that's okay. So really nice. That's a lot of what green has done in the past, like with other cards, other level 4s that were searchers. So when digivolving, level 4s in green in the past have always been pretty much a reveal X amount of cards, add something. So it's cool that Beetlemon for the hybrids does the same thing as all those great cards in the past that greens had. And then our other one is the Metal Kabuterimon here. So again, 2 Evo cost on top of a tamer, or you can go 3 Evo cost on top of a rookie if need be, or 1 Evo cost on top of another level 4. That's kind of applicable. Say you've got the memory, you just need to get this evolve so that way you can just cycle through your deck, get a couple more, get another draw, as well as you get the effect here of when digivolving, if a card with hybrid in its trait or JP is in this Digimon's Digivolution card, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. That's going to be pretty much all your opponent's level 4 blockers, so it just kind of clears it out of the way, because he's only at 6,000 DP, so if there's a 6,000 DP blocker on field, this guy can't swing over it, so being able to just suspend that blocker and just get around it another way is really cool. So really liking this Metal Kabuterimon. Works pretty great for what green does. All about suspending your opponent's stuff so that way we can swing over it with piercing. So works great into the strategy there. Next up, this is kind of a flex spot. You can go with this guy, or you can go with the generic in, was it Arbomon, I think, or Arbormon. But this one is a 3 Evo cost instead of a 2, but you get an effect. So that 1 more memory Evo gets you a piercing effect. And 7,000 DP. The 7,000 DP being able to swing over a fair chunk of level 4. So 7,000 DP on a level 4 is pretty solid. So you're swinging over pretty much everything level 4 and below in the game with piercing. So you don't even need to digivolve this guy onto the JP. The JP giving piercing as an inheritable. This guy can go on top of like a second memory fixer that you might have in play, or one of our third choices of tamers if you want. We went with some 2 play cost tamers, nice and cheap to slam down, and then you can evolve this guy right over those really cheap tamers. So with that piercing, pretty cool. Again, just a flex spot for another hybrid. I'm really just liking hybrids in general, because since they go on top of tamers, you can slam down a tamer, and when your opponent does their turn, they can't clear tamers really easy. Tamers are pretty solid to stick around, so your opponent can't run a green deck and then pierce over them, or use like Judgment Blade and swing into unsuspended Digimon to clear them off the field. They can't really clear a tamer like they could, say, a rookie. Rookies can be bounced back to hand really easy, or just deleted off of effects super easily. So went with just stuck with the whole package for tamers here. Also, this 3 Evo cost is stagnant, so you can Evo him on top of your other guys here just as easily, your rookies just as easily as you would a tamer. You don't have that choice there. Isn't quite as bad. And then next up, we've got our level 5 package, and first up is our Rhino Kabuterimon. Again, staying in with the hybrids. This is their new level 5 hybrid, so it's the same as all the other new level 5s in the fact that it has this effect here of when one of your Digimon with a tamer card in its Digivolution cards digivolves into this card in your hand, reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 2. So it makes this level 5 Evo a 1 cost Evo. 1 cost Evo level 5. That is insane. Now it has to have a tamer. So most of the time, all of your level 4s being hybrids are going to go on top of your Tamers. Now, yes, some of them can go on top of your rookies. So when you go on top of a rookie, just keep that in mind that your Rhino Kabuterimon will not be able to get that reduction in Evo. And then also, when attacking, if a card with hybrid or insectoid in its trait is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, this Digimon can Digivolve into a Digimon card with insectoid or 10 warriors in its trait in your hand for a memory cost of 3. So where that's relevant is the boss monster for the deck is Ancient Beetlemon. So actually part of the whole Evo chain, and that's great. This is like the only one besides like literally Ancient Greymon where you can actually Evo up into your boss monster and actually use it. Normally a 5 Evo cost, a big whopping 5 Evo cost, way too big. But if you're using the Rhino, you can reduce its effect or reduce its Evo cost down. In its trait in your hand for a memory cost of 3. So makes it a 3 Evo cost Mega, which is pretty standard. So that's really awesome. 13,000 DP. And then just go ahead and read its effects, and we'll go back to our level 5s in a second. But your turn, once per turn, when one of your Digimon with 10 warriors in its type or hybrid in its form deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So he is an ancient insect and a 10 warriors. That 10 warriors really, really mattering here. For like the Bokomon, you can actually add this guy off the Bokomon. That's kind of an issue with the other hybrid decks is they'll slam down that Bokomon and their level 6 boss monster will get revealed and they can't even add it to hand because it's not part of the Evo chain. It's like an outside Mega. But green doesn't have to suffer from that. Green's consistency is phenomenal. It's got the best consistency of all these search cards. It has the most search cards out of all the different hybrid decks. It has the cheapest Evo costs by far. Absolutely wonderful. And then on deletion, you get to play a level 4 hybrid from your hand. So just replaces himself with another body on field. That's really great. So 13,000, more than likely with the JP inheritable should be giving him piercing. So you're going to swing with him and then pierce over something, delete something of your opponent's side of the field, activate his ability because he triggers off of himself. So you can use his ability, trash a card in security, and then the piercing goes through on top of that, checking a second security. So really, really solid stuff there. Really liking the consistency of this. And finally, an ancient Mega that's not going to delete himself at the end of the turn. So that's nice. So, we really like our Warp Digivolving from level 4s into our Ancients. But man, it really hurts to lose them at the end of the turn, whereas finally Ancient Beetlemon is going to be sticking around. Now, jumping back to our level 5s, we've got, we're going back a little bit to our Digisorption days. So Digisorption 3, so suspended a Digimon to reduce the Evo cost of these guys by 3. So essentially level 5s that are 0 cost Evos. That's really awesome. Just for when you really need to get into these and then get into something else. Now, you can suspend something else, or literally what is Digivolving into these guys can suspend, and then you can Evo into this. And that could matter based on what secondary Mega you have, which we'll get into in a second. And then just don't forget about Argomon's inheritable here of when attacking, you may play one level 3 green Digimon card from your hand suspended without paying its memory cost. I mean, it doesn't come up that much, at least in my experience. Now, it's also a one of limited on the ban list to 1, so I haven't had as much chance to get its inheritable off as others, but it is there. So we've got some decent targets there. You can go Betamon here, or you can go this Terriermon. So get a memory blocker out super easily just to like shut your opponent down. Pretty solid stuff. Really, really like it. So when you get a chance, to get this off is pretty great. And then you do get your on-play effects. So just keep that in mind. You do get your on-play effects. So that Betamon up there will trigger. So pretty cool stuff for sure. And then our secondary Mega is, I went with Ancient Troymon. You can't unfortunately go with, what's his face? Nidhoggmon. Nidhoggmon was like my first choice, but when you think about it, you're going to have your Tamer, and then that's going to go into a hybrid, and then that hybrid is going to go into a level 5, and then you're going to go into your Mega, okay? You're not going to have the Digivolution sources required to activate Nidhoggmon most of the time. So Nidhoggmon just doesn't work in this deck all that well. So we went with the Ancient Troymon instead. Again, another Ancient, which is great. Works into the strategy perfectly. He is a 10 Warriors. So not only can Rhino go into our Ancient Beetlemon, like preferred, but he can also go into the Ancient Troymon. Like, it just works in the deck so perfectly. I mean, I don't think you can really plan this out for a deck to work as great as it does, especially with green, because green's always been very much a whatever my secondary mega is, it's just kind of like a fallback plan if my main mega doesn't work out, and all I draw is the secondary mega. It's a bummer. It's not as good, but with this it's like, oh, they're both ancient 10 warriors. Awesome. Perfect. I can use my level 5 to go into either of them, whatever I have in my hand, whatever I need in that moment. That's brilliant. And then opponent's turn. When an opponent's Digimon attacks, suspend up to 2 of their Digimon without blocker. So that's just still really solid. A lot of what I was seeing so far in hybrid matches is no one likes to swing into security because it usually is filled with Tamers. And by swinging to security, you're going to put a bunch of Tamers onto your opponent's field for them to use, to Evo on top of. Like, would you swing in to your opponent's security in a previous format if there was all security Digimon? No, you wouldn't. Unless you were know that you're going to win or you can clear their field. Even if they were security Digimon, you can still delete those Digimon with other ways. With them being Tamers, you can't really touch them. People are going to go for these really big wide boards. And when they go for these big wide boards, Ancient Troymon is great. You swing with 1, you're going to suspend 2 of their other ones to shut them down. So great card for sure. And then the same on deletion effect of being able to play a hybrid out, just getting another engine going. Great stuff. So great secondary mega. When you can't go aggro and you need to play a little bit of defense, Ancient Troymon is a great way to go for sure. And then next up, we got JP, who is the best tamer in the deck. This is our hybrid, so it makes sense. He is the one from Frontier, so security effect, you get to play him for free. And then your turn, when this tamer digivolves into a green Digimon, reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 1. So your 2 Evo cost hybrids now become 1 Evo cost to digivolve. Dang, that's really good. And they have really nice when digivolving effects, so even better. But combine that with a Bokomon, when JP digivolves into a tamer and you have Bokomon on field, you see where I'm going with this? You reduce the Evo cost by 1, and then you gain 2 memory. So if you start your turn at 3 and you Evo a JP into a hybrid with Bokomon on field, you go up to 4 memory. You go down to 2, and then you gain 2 to go up to 4. That's nuts. The value in green is so good. I think he's super underrated. Now, back in JP format at the beginning of BT7, it was all about green. Okay, it was green and yellow both. Green eventually fell off, and blue took its place. But I think green has a very good shot at just being good again. Like, it is tier 1, absolutely. In arguments of which of the hybrid decks is the best, I think he is absolutely in the contender. I mean, with yellow and blue both, for being the number 1 hybrid deck. We'll have to see when the format evolves and how things go with the new ban list really affecting things. I think that's what yellow and blue really benefited from previously, is they had Mega Digimon Fusion, and those decks use Susanomon. This deck doesn't need Susanomon because it's actually using its Megas as intended. So it doesn't need Susanomon. So it never used Mega Digimon Fusion before. Now that Mega Digimon Fusion is gone, his competition has dropped significantly, which means he's come up a good amount. And then the Inheritable Piercing, which we already talked about. So definitely really liking where this is going. Now, next is our memory fixer, and it's kind of a debate which one you want. You got Ken here for the first memory fixer, and his effect is your turn. When one of your green or blue Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, you may suspend this tamer to gain 1 memory. That's great. It also gets around memory blockers because it is a tamer giving the memory, so that's really good. So with all of your hybrids having piercing because of the JP, ideally at least. Also, well, let's just scroll back up to it right quick. Your Pedalmon already having piercing, so you can swing of this guy and pierce and get the Deletion effect. Trigger Ken. Your Metal Kabuterimon, when it suspends a 6,000 DP or less, and you go to swing over it, you're deleting something else on the field. You're getting tons of different value going on here. Also, your Ancient Beetlemon. You're wanting to delete your opponent's Digimon to activate his effect to trash his security. Even if you don't have piercing on Ancient Beetlemon for whatever reason, you're still more than likely going to want to delete something because either way you're going to get one check. Might as well also clear something off field. So it's another great use of triggering Ken to get an extra memory. Now, the alternative is good old classic Mimi. You can run the Mimi instead, but I don't know. I'm not sold on it because we don't need to get rookies onto field as much. It's not as significant as it was previously because we're doing so much hybrid digivolving in this deck that I don't think she's as good. I think Ken is the way to go for memory fixers. I really do. And then next is our other tamer, depending on which one you want to go with. So first up, we've got the old BT1 Izzy. This is the one we had in the feature match of if you have a level 5 or higher green Digimon in play, you can suspend this tamer, reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is a Digimon card, add it to your hand, otherwise place it to the bottom of the deck. That's nice that it's just anything, so if you reveal a Bokomon off of this, you can still add it to hand, whereas the other ones that we discussed, Tentomon or Terriermon Assistant, it has to be specifically a green Digimon, but it's basically the same thing. You're going to reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a Digimon, you're going to add it to hand. So a little bit of extra value. He's just nice because he's a 2-play cost tamer. So kind of like our old 2-play cost rookies, serving kind of the same role. But since he is a tamer, he's going to be more protected. Also, the fact that we could possibly get some bonus use out of him is really, really great. So that's our first choice, but the second one is the starter deck Izzy. I think is also still worth it. He is another 2-play cost, just the same as the other one, but the effect is when one of your opponent's Digimon becomes suspended during your turn, you may suspend this tamer to gain 1 memory. So another way we're gaining free memory. So this in combination with the Ken, that's great. So say something like your Metal Kabuterimon digivolves on top of JP. Metal Kabuterimon's effect is going to trigger suspend one of your opponent's 6,000 DP or less Digimon. So you suspend that, boom. Now you activate the Izzy here to gain 1 memory. And then you swing over that with the piercing, get the security check, but also you're going to then trigger Ken to gain another memory. But yeah, so you're going to get tons of value out of these guys of gaining memory. And we've already seen that how efficient they are at evoing. You can just keep your turn going and just have these massive, insane turns. Just a little bit of setup and you're going, you're off to the races. I think that's so good. So there's definitely argument for both. You have this Izzy for a little bit more consistency, which I don't know if that's even needed because of the fact that you've got like the level 4 Beetlemon, you've got the Bokomon, we've got that rookie, the on-play rookie to search more stuff. Like we've got consistency pieces already. So you could definitely argue dropping this Izzy down here for the gain 1 memory Izzy. I think either way is a solid choice. I just think that with all the consistency we've already got, that maybe you might want to look a little extra hard at this one first. Test this one out first and see how you like it. And then our last card in our deck is Needle Spray. Needle Spray has just always been a really good card in green ever since it came out. It kind of replaced Flower Cannon just because you can activate this card's main effect, Insecurity, and suspend something. We kind of dropped Flower Cannon because you couldn't target blockers. You could definitely argue putting Flower Cannon back in because I don't think blockers are going to be that big this format. So there, you can just kind of make the assumption on your own which one you prefer. Needle Spray is also great because you can add it to hand afterwards, so there still is that. Again, with boards going super wide and then kind of swinging in with everything all at once, you can definitely see maybe the argument for Flower Cannon now because no one's going to want to trigger all those tamers that might be in security, but they're definitely going to be surprised when they hit into a Flower Cannon in this format just because you're not going to have a whole lot of blockers, really. I mean, with all the hybrids, none of the hybrids being blockers in the meta, really, Flower Cannon's in a pretty good position. Now, again, you cannot add it to hand. The part about adding it to hand, why that's relevant, is because of all the piercing that you're doing. Suspend something to that, so that way you can then swing over it with your piercing, triggering like your mega, that sort of thing, with your ancient Beetlemon. Go ahead and zoom out for you so you can see the whole deck as it is, and just kind of make that choice there of which one you prefer. Flower Cannon or the Needle Spray, and then which Izzy you prefer. I definitely don't think Mimi is the way to go. I think Ken absolutely is the better choice all around. And then you can make the choice of which hybrid you prefer, the Petalmon or the generic. The generic is a 2 Evo cost, so a little bit more efficient. But the Petalmon is also still really solid. That nice big 7,000 DP with piercing already, so you can digivolve it on top of like one of your Izzies or like an extra Ken if you want to, and you don't have to waste your JP on this side hybrid here. But even then, you could just drop it and add something else entirely that I haven't even covered. I think it's a good flex spot for sure in the deck of whatever level 4 you prefer. If you want to run blockers, then there you go. That's a good spot to fit it in for sure.